Welcome to the How Did We Get Here podcast, the show that allows inspiring women from all walks of life a place to tell their story. Follow along every fortnight as we chat about each woman's challenges, life lessons, and words of wisdom that they have picked up along the way. Everything that has led them to being right here and right now. I'm your host, Jess, and from wherever you are in the world, I hope the story you hear today makes you smile, laugh, and maybe even cry a little. I hope it inspires you and fills your cup up just a little bit more, because in this day and age, inspiration and stories are always worth sharing. So grab a coffee or a tea and settle in for today's episode. And welcome back to the How Did We Get Here podcast. Thank you all for joining me. We are now up to episode, I think, 16 at the moment. And for today's episode, I'm really excited to welcome my very next guest, one of my fellow ambassadors for True North Collective. And that is sort of how we met as well. Ri, thank you so much for joining me, honey.
Well, thank you for having me.
The funny story about how I have Ri on the show is she basically just went for it and asked me whether or not it would be something that I would have her on as a guest after listening to a few of my episodes. And I said, without a doubt, fuck yeah, like, let's get you on the show. Absolutely. What are you talking about?
Yeah, she's audacious.
And I love that. And I love that you recognize within you that you have a story that you want to tell, and that you know that you want a place to be able to voice your story and to have it heard to other people. And I am so honored that you had the guts to ask me, because that is what this is all about. So welcome.
It's actually, thank you so much. It's actually how I how I shot my shot with True North as well. One day I had far too much caffeine in my system. I'm not even kidding. Set the scene right. I think it is like 3:34 a.m. in the morning. I've just got myself to gym, and I was all like because he just kind of followed me on True North, and I'm just like, fuck it. Are we just going to keep liking each other's posts? Or are we going to collab? Next minute, we're collabing, and then the rest is history. I still can't believe it's happening, but here we are.
So good. Well, we'll get into more of the True North stuff a little bit later on, but as per all of our episodes, I want to sort of start by allowing our audience and our listeners to get to know you a little bit more. So, Ri, without telling everyone what you do for work, how would you describe yourself to someone you've just met?
I'm a professional hype girl, and I will not let you say anything negative about yourself or anyone else around me, because I am really passionate about empowerment, about the empowerment that can be found in accountability, not just, the shame. What else? I'm a professional problem solver too. Like, I really enjoy, I learned from video games actually. I really enjoy looking at an issue from multiple perspectives, even seeking the perspective that might be completely on the opposite of my own. Just if nothing else, in an effort to learn and gain knowledge. I think that's
cool.
pretty much all.
What else? What other sort of characteristics make you who you are? Or some describing words.
Oh, you put me on the spot there. Would you believe I wrote pages and pages to try and prep for this, and now it's all gone?
That's okay. See, we don't want it to be scripted or thought out or written down. It's just sort of what comes to mind naturally. Like, how would you describe yourself to someone?
Oh, I'm pretty fearless. I say that being fearful of this situation, just because can't believe it's happening. Yeah, I'm pretty fearless. I feel like there's almost nothing that I can't solve or do. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. I guess if there's an adjective to describe someone who doesn't believe in failure, only wisdom to be gained from any experience. I'm
You're quite
insane.
passionate. You're passionate.
Very passionate.
A little bit insane.
Passion driven by insanity. Won't be told no. If I'm told no, I'm like, right, let's hell with this. And oftentimes I do go here.
I love that.
What else? I think that's pretty much, without prompting, my brain's just like,
That's okay. That's good. That's a perfect description of who you are without telling us what you do for work. Because again, it's such an easy way to describe yourself to someone new that you've met. Oh yeah, this is such and such is what I do for work. We're like, no, you are so much more than that.
100%. I find it can be a little bit reductive too, and we forget to think about who we are outside of work too. Like,
Mm.
while what I personally do for work encompasses a lot of my personality, it's not just the only thing.
Aspect to
Yeah.
your personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, take us back to your early years, as far
Mm.
back as you are willing to take us, and sort of summarize a little bit of your origin story. So, things, events, moments in your life that have shaped your values, your core beliefs, your views on the world, and fundamentally all of these moments from your childhood, adolescence, and right up into adulthood that have sort of shaped you into getting right here and right now, basically.
Okay. Well, sorry to burst balloons, but I personally didn't have the happiest sort of childhood, so it's kind of tricky to ascertain like a pinpoint. But
Mm-hmm.
I guess if I could describe what I've done with that, is that I never want to continue with that, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
there was a bit of trigger warning, there was a bit of DV, there was significant SA, there was no support from, people who really I needed support from. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
But I guess if I could pinpoint the very first event that really sort of started cutting my teeth, it would be when I was 19 and I just decided to randomly pack up and move up to the Whitsundays just because my dad had my dad had a son before he married my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And we found each other on Facebook. We knew each other when I think the last time I saw him when I was a child, it was maybe 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when he beat a boy up for pushing me off the swing.
Go, Dad.
100%, 100%. Yeah, so I was just like, what have I got to lose? I'm bored. And that was the first sort of time I realized being tied down is not something that I want to be, if that makes sense. Like, yes, I'm married. Yes, that's not part of what I mean, but I just crave adventure. And that was the first sort of time I realized that. I guess to build onto that, it wasn't long before I was homeless and living, spent a few nights in my car. I couch surfed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Is that when you were
I,
younger, like when you were around 19?
Yeah, so
Yep.
I'd pretty much I turned 19 in September. I was up there by October. I was homeless probably by January, is easily, easily.
Wow.
Um, but it sort of taught me that I have so much more strength and problem solving abilities and resilience than I could have ever sort of conceived had. I guess I received the support I received, what most kids kind of do, if that
Yep.
makes sense.
Yep.
Very short learning curve. But I mean, while it wasn't the most incredible experience, it was really quite an interesting juxtaposition because I was just in love with the place. Like, where
Just
I
the
lived,
beauty of the Whit Sundays and everything else
honey,
that was happening internally and in your life, and like that complete juxtaposition of the beauty of that, yet the
yeah,
the darkness of what it was that you were going through.
yeah, absolutely. And I didn't even know how dark it was at the time, to be honest, because I was just like, oh, look at the pretty beaches. Uh,
And you're 19 as well. You're a kid. Like you don't,
yeah,
you're so young. You're still trying to figure out the world, and you've been sort of gotten to a point after going through a lot through your early years of life, and then getting to that point where
yeah,
you're like, fuck, something needs to change and I need to get out. You just knew you had something in you that you knew
mhm,
you needed to get out of that environment. And
yeah.
yeah, that's incredible.
Thank you. Um, Yeah, like I guess I had when I was sort of, I guess you could say I was choosing to be homeless. Like I remember having a conversation with my mum outside of one of the houses that I was sort of couch surfing on, and just like, just come home. And it's like burned into my brain. And I just said, Mum, I can't. Like I don't know why. I just can't. There's something keeping me here. I need to be here right now. Yeah, and like. I'm glad that I listened to my intuition because, again, while it wasn't the most sunshine and rainbows experience, I loved where I was. I loved where I
Mm.
was. Not long after that, I started working at a sugar mill, which changed my entire life. Like was more money than I could ever think I was worth. But that enabled me to go from couch surfing slash paying, a small fee to share a bed with another girl to living on my own in this tiny little shoebox that was, had no air conditioning, two bedrooms. It was ancient. The insulation was terrible, but it was my little shoebox. It was
Yeah.
my little home. And just, I remember, it's so funny. You see memes on Facebook about, starting again. And I remember that little place so vividly back when rent was $180 a week.
If only. Far out.
Yeah, but it was the freedom. Oh, what was the freedom? It was mine. I worked for it. It was my space. I could have my red curtains and my leopard printer, but it was great.
It was your space. Like it was
Yeah.
finally your safe space just for you, for no
Hmm.
one else. And you had built that for yourself. Or you
Yeah.
created that for yourself.
100%. And the work wasn't easy, but I really, really enjoyed it. Like there was something about it that taught me to really enjoy earning my shower and earning my sleep because it was rotating rosters. I was working, 7 on 1 off, 7 on 2 off, 7 on 3.5 off.
Yeah.
And sometimes, oftentimes those 8-hour shifts would suddenly turn into 12-hour shifts out of the blue. And it was, it was tricky work, but it created such an incredible foundation that I was up away from all my family. I didn't have, too much support. I was with my definition of a toxic, psycho, red flag circus man, which we'll
Ooh.
probably end up going into.
Yeah.
But it's funny because with enough distance, all I can think about is the positives I've taken away from it and how that
Hmm.
kind of set me up for where I am now and how I'm not afraid to take on any challenge. It's just, okay, we'll just eat this elephant one bite at a time.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. I love that analogy. Instead of
Super
thinking about
exciting.
the whole, yeah, instead of thinking about the whole elephant, just take it one bite at a time. Yeah.
Exactly. A
That's
hundred
so good.
percent. Like it'll eventually be gone. Just,
Yeah. Just slowly.
enjoy each bite for what it is.
So how long were you working at the sugar mill for?
3.5 to 4 seasons. So it was seasonal work. It was meant to be 6 to 8 months. Sometimes it would draw out. But yeah, 4.5 seasons, which meant that throughout the maintenance period, it was only the first maintenance period I didn't get called back for, but the rest of them I did. And that was more learning again. It was really cool. Like I just found it so fascinating. Like this sugar mill hun, it was, I think, 110 years old at the time. So
That's
it's
cool.
ancient. Yeah. It's like big, it's loud, the smells, the dirt, the grime, and I just friggin' frothed it. Oh, it was the best. Like as part of my job, I would during the on season on maintenance days, I would crawl into because I was small. I would crawl into like the tight confined spaces and dig and get covered in grease and crap and spiders. And for some reason, I just frothed it. I was like, the inner child in me was just making mud pies in the driveway again.
Yeah. You were just
It
loving
was,
it. It
I,
was
I
almost like
was.
having part of your childhood back in a way that you didn't have
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah,
when you didn't have a childhood. I'm guessing. I'm assuming.
you are so correct. Oh, honey, I don't want to be like, where this is therapy, but like,
I'm just trying to sort of pinpoint why you enjoyed that job so much. Not only because it gave you that independence and it gave you that financial freedom to live on your own, but because it was so enjoyable in the sense that you gained so much fun and satisfaction out of doing simple things like building fucking little mud pies while you were working. It brought you back to having a sense of childhood when your actual childhood might have been taken away from you.
yeah, look, 100% a bit of that. As you were talking, I don't know if you could see the face, but it was thinking. It was also that, I mean, look at me. You don't, look at me and think that girl she can get her hands dirty. It was like proving the boys wrong. I mean, where I was living at the time, it was very misogynistic. I mean, imagine 1950s, like, a woman can't do this, a woman can't do that. And while they wouldn't say exactly that, like,
Mm.
It was certain, like, there
It
was a
felt like
glass
that.
ceiling, hun, and
Mm.
I was one of the hardest workers, and that's what I really, really enjoyed. I think it
Mm.
was the fact that I felt like one of the hardest workers. I learned to sort of sink my teeth into it, and that's kind of where I learned there's literally no job I can't do. Like, it was like a self-limiting belief based on God knows
Hang on.
what.
So how long were you there for?
In the Whitsundays, I was there almost 5 years to the very day. Very weird how it,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, you wait till you find out how I quit.
Oh my god. Okay. No, you have to tell me now.
All right. So, and I'm still not sorry. If anyone from there sees this, I'm still not sorry. Not even a little bit. So there was like some really uncomfortable sort of situations going on, and I tried to go to HR a couple of times about getting a shift change. Look, I'm not gonna lie, definitely had quite the part to play in that. But when I was like, I need to stop this, HR was nowhere to be seen, which was
Mm.
weird because HR was a female too. But anyway, moving on. Um, so I lasted 4.5 seasons. There was a bunch of issues with HR, and then like there was this particular ticket that I was begging for every year, right? Every year.
What's a ticket?
Like a qualification, it's not a uni course, but it's significantly more valuable than a TAFE course. So they called it just a turbine ticket. From my understanding, you literally learned about hydroelectricity and learned to manage the turbines, which not only powered the sugar mill, but half of where I lived as well. Yeah.
Cool.
And I was dying for that. Like the idea of it just, it's like, when you get really excited and you just don't even have words and you're
Yeah.
and there was this guy, right? Um, I don't know if you want to edit this out, but he was super, super unreliable. We were often, drug tested and everything. She was a sober girly. But because this one guy, he would rock up to work stoned, and he just so happened to not, get tested that particular day.
Hmm.
Um, but he would be super unreliable, which meant that I had to suddenly work a 12-hour shift because he just couldn't be bothered, or, he was off on it all night. They gave it to him.
What?
This was his first season there too.
They
I'd
gave
been
him
there
that
for four.
ticket.
Yeah, they gave
Yeah.
it to him. And that's where I was like, no,
Mm.
I think I'm done here. So halfway through the season, which is so naughty, I went to HR. No, no, not then. So I ended up on the phone to my mum, just saying how this happened, complaining about everything. And I was just a little bit, because of everything that was happening, I felt so isolated, so alone, so unsupported. I didn't want to be here anymore, if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily have an attempt, but I called someone who came and picked me up off my kitchen floor, and I honestly, I don't remember much of the rest of the day, but I remember that the next day I was on the phone to my mum and I said, I think I want to come home. And then, my stepdad said, I'll give you a job. And then that day it wasn't even my shift, but I went in and I literally said, I'm quitting. How do I quit? And they're like, oh, we just need it in writing. And I was like, here's a sticky note. I, Rihanna, quit as of X date on X date.
Wow.
That's it. Stick, bye. Because and then I went and cleared out my locker and threw, like, so bad, but I threw everything that was in my locker straight into the carrier, which went through the sugar mill, because that's how much I just did not care anymore.
Oh my god.
But that's like the least of the gross crap that went through the sugar mill. God, there is
Mm.
stories I could tell you. They're not super
We don't
terrible.
have time right now.
No,
I
we
would love
don't.
to hear
No,
them though.
I'll tell you separately. But
Yes,
yeah, some of the
please.
things. Yeah, and then literally within 24 hours of having that phone conversation with my mum, I'd sold half my furniture, packed my car, and then the very next day, like 3:30 a.m., I was off to Toowoomba.
Wow.
Yep, yep, I was done. I was just done, and it was kind of another huge growth moment for me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And is Toowoomba where your family, like where you were from originally?
No, that was just my first stop. So I was just like
Okay.
kind of I was just winging it. I was just like, I'm gonna get home. I need to get home. I'm from Melbourne,
Yep.
various places. But mum is in Kilmore. So like
Yep.
about 40 minutes north of Melbourne.
Okay.
And I was just winging it. I just got in my car and I ended up in Toowoomba, and then I was because I just finished like shift work the very next that took me like longer than it should have, like 10 hours. And then the next day, I got up at like 4 a.m. again, and then I was off again. And then I just kept on breaking it up into like quarter shifts. And then next
Mm-hmm.
minute, I've driven 17 hours and it ended up home at 9 p.m. that night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was on a mission, girly on a mission. Yeah.
Shit.
She just needed to get home, play blasting Castle on the Hill by freaking
Oh my God, Ed Sheeran.
by Ed Sheeran. Yep, screaming it. Oh, it was just such a good time. I'm taking a bloody Snapchat as I'm getting in the town. I'm home. It took
You're
me
so
5
cute.
freaking years, but I'm finally back.
Oh my God.
Celebrating.
That's so good. And
Yeah, it
then
was
so
honestly.
you would have been what, 22, 23 at that time?
I think it's 23, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I was 23, 24. I don't know. It's like a minute ago now.
That's okay.
But yeah, and then not long after that, I ended up working in gas fitting with my stepdad, RRP Gas in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just laying gas in new homes, and that was really hard work. Oh, it was hard work. But then that pushed me into Defence Force recruiting. That was cool.
Yep.
So
How
I
did you get into that?
one of my girlfriends at the time, she was a case manager and she was doing really, really well. And it was just such an interesting world coming from where I've come from, then to rub shoulders with some decently respected people in the actual Australian Defence Force. I'm like, these people are celebrities. I can like the things that they have done is just
Mind blowing. Yep.
mind blowing.
Yep.
Like the discipline, the resilience, I just found it so inspiring. It
Mm-hmm.
was incredible. I mean, she's got stretched ears, so she never ended up getting into the Air Force like
Defense.
she wanted. I mean,
Oh.
I got through all the process. I just needed to get them stitched up. But for whatever reason, I went and met my husband and then decided I didn't need to do that. So
Oh
he was supportive. He was supportive. He was like, do what you've got to do. And I'm like, I don't think I want to sew my ears up. So
no.
that's
Oh.
literally the reason why I never went through.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It
Yeah.
all happened for a reason.
I think so.
Yeah.
If I'm really honest with you, I think I was lying to myself, thinking that I had the ability to emotionally compartmentalize the way they do, because I'm a lover girl. I feel everything so much. It's so funny when I listen to your other podcasts and you're like, that's gonna make me cry. And I'm like, I'm already crying.
Well,
Oh god.
with because my partner's in the Air Force, there's
Mm.
a lot of really good from it as well, and I've only ever heard really good things about it too.
Yeah.
Um, and I know from stories from other friends of mine who've been in both the Air Force and Army and all the
Mm.
other one. I know that Army is very different to Air Force. So again, I can't speak from personal experience. It's just what I've really
Yeah.
heard. So even though you are a lover girl, I think you definitely would have still thrived in an Air Force environment, from what I know.
You reckon?
Mm.
It's not like I think they're too tough. It's just that I think I'm too soft. Like I'm
Mm.
I'm a mum to my dogs. I'm
Not
like,
after everything that you told me, though. You're definitely not too soft. I think you're the perfect amount of softness,
oh, stop it, you.
but also you're able to get shit done when you need to get shit done.
Oh god, you.
So
Yeah, that's
stop
true.
stop cutting yourself short, babe.
Oh, I've got my therapist in my head asking me why I've got self-limiting beliefs again when I'm just in
Yeah.
constant contradiction.
All
Oh
right.
dear.
So continuing on, then how long
Yeah.
were you doing recruitment for?
Oh, only 6 months. The money was horrific. Like,
Oh,
darling,
really?
it was like, oh, I've got. I was okay to paint the picture. I was living at home, so I didn't even have rent to pay or anything, and I was catching a
Mm-hmm.
train. And even then, I was not able to do anything. But because the money was so terrible, and my boyfriend at the time was a personal trainer, but was the kind of PT that I guess adhered to telling the client just enough. Do you remember that part of your course where, because it certainly was in my course,
Mm,
basically one of the things that I was personally taught that I was like, absolutely not,
mm.
was that you don't want to educate the client too much because it's terrible for your business model. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's, my point of difference, I guess, in my personal space. But he was very much adhering to that. He was very much business, 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 and it
It frustrates me.
it pissed me off because I was just so fascinated by. Oh, I had so many questions. Would either just be really clammy about it or not say anything. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to go study myself then. Went and did the same course.
Wow.
Elwood the shit out of that, mind you. Like,
Yes, girl.
there was so much that happened. Like, that relationship ended up in fire and brimstone and infidelity. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's not the only one. They all did. It was such a good time. Anyway, very nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
I don't even know
honey.
why. I don't know. I'm probably hard to be with. That's fine. I get it. Maybe
No.
punishment.
You're definitely not hard to be with, honey. I would not assume that of you. Some men are just trash. Yeah. Yeah. Small dick
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah. Oh
I
God.
can I can say that. It's my podcast.
You can, but like, I don't want to be like bashing people.
No, it's
Because
fine.
only good things came from it. Because I met him, I went and studied, and then because I finished studying, there was, all right, I'm gonna say there was at least 6 months there when I was single. I ended up dating. Someone who was my best friend for like 12 years from school, who was in the army, had a few deployments and everything, dating that person, living in a house with other, physical training instructors for the army. Again, while I don't have anything on paper, that is a part of my life that pushed me in such a positive direction because from what I understand of their education, it is top tier. I mean, it is wet lab stuff. It is like the most highest qualification in terms of any physical training you could possibly achieve within Australia. And
Mhm.
I was just stars in my eyes about it. And I absorbed everything I possibly could like a dry sponge. I loved every second of it. Got the opportunity to train on base a couple of times, which was just, you could
That's so cool.
feel, babe, you could feel the vibration of the history of the just energy. It was incredible. I was just just
Yep.
goosebumps.
Yep.
Um, but that kind of shaped where I am now. Like, even though there's been quite some time between then and
Now.
me, yeah, and me becoming who I am now as the recovery coach, I implement what I learned all the way back then
Now.
into all of my clients' training, into all of my own training, and it's just for me, it's just worked, and I find it really fascinating. Just the different way they do things, like
Mhm.
the mindset, the justification as to how and why. It's just really, really cool. It's just really interesting. Sorry,
That's so amazing.
obsessed with
No, no, no. So then obviously that has led you into where you are now, which is explain to our listeners and our viewers as to where you are today and what you're doing
it.
for work now.
So I'm an online coach. So I manage a supplement store, not far away from where I live, which has expanded my knowledge once again. When I was studying PT, I was terrified of learning anything nutritional based because I understand that my personality can be quite addictive. Just because I latch on to anything with dopamine. We know what that is. Let's not go into it.
Yep.
Yeah. But there I met my gorgeous Sean. Oh my God. And when I first met Sean, babe, I was so intimidated by her. She's just
Really?
this goddess. The way she just, and she's probably going to vomit when I friggin' when
When she
she's,
hears this. Yep.
yeah, because I haven't even told her I'm doing this. I've kept it very much under wraps.
Yay.
Yeah. And she both intimidated me and inspired me so much. And then I remember not long after the Christmas break at the start, early 2024, or at the end of 2024,
Mhm.
she's a nutritionist, right? She's a
Yeah.
foodie. She's an accredited nutritionist. She's got her own business. She was working on stepping away from NC altogether,
Yeah.
um, to focus on that. She turns to me one day in the middle of a Wednesday shift and she goes, "Do you know anyone that's looking for any PT work?" And I was like, "Would you would you consider me?"
Me?
The way her eyes widened, it's like she saw something in me that I could never have seen. And the rest, babe, the rest is history.
Oh.
We launched, I think just after New Year's, we announced me as being part of the Shaped team. And since then, my growth in the personal training space, my relationship with her, my relationship with other women has just exploded in the most beautiful way. And
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the most intensely healing things for someone that you find so intimidating because they're just so inspirational to see something in you.
You. Yeah.
Sorry, here we go. Stop it. To see something in you and believe in you so much that they allow you to be a part of their own personal brand that they've built from,
Built themselves. Yeah,
yeah,
from the
built
ground
from
up.
literally nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just I have no words. I still look back and I think, is this actually my life? Have I
Well,
actually
yeah.
come from that sad little girl that had no friends at school, that was bullied, and the boys called her fat and wide load and pizza face and all this kind of stuff, to here
Yeah.
with some of the most inspirational, incredible people around me? Like, I don't see celebrities as celebrities. I see them as
Mm.
people who just so happen to work in that space. The
Yeah.
people I perceive as celebrities are people, don't be weird about it, for people like you that really just freaking go for it. People like Sean, people like
Yeah.
Hattie, people like friggin' some of the girlies that we also represent True North with. Like,
Yes.
these, to me, these people, they are my superheroes. Like,
Mm.
I work with a girlie who she's quite young, but you wouldn't really know it, and she studies neuroscience. And
That's amazing.
she's just fascinating with her mindset. Like, every time I get stars in my eyes about products, right? I'm just like, oh, this looks like an amazing answer to all of my problems. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
babe, can you bring me back to
Science
earth?
it.
Yeah. And then she'll just get on her Google Scholar. She'll go through some reading material, and she'll be like, Ree, mm-mm. And I'm like,
No.
thank you, but why? Can you just explain to me why I say no?
Can you tell me the answers why?
Yeah, that. And we have this really cool conversation and relationship. It's honestly, it's freaking cool, the people I get to work with. It's just freaking fascinating.
I think it's, everything that you've sort of gone through and everything that you've experienced in terms of your work. So obviously leaving your hometown, leaving your mum, traveling up by yourself, being homeless, being really young, being outside of your comfort zone and completely alone, and having to navigate the world on your own,
Mm.
start working, figuring yourself out, learning those fundamental core values of hard work gets you things that you need, gets you things that you want in life. You stood up for yourself, you stood up for what was right, you basically stuck it to the man at your job at the sugar mill.
Yeah.
Then everything else that sort of led you to finding health and fitness, working, obviously having that partner who was in the PT space in the army and things like that. And for you, though, during that period of time, when did you start training? When did you get into the gym? When was the gym and your training in the picture there?
Oh, uh, yeah. Okay.
If you don't mind going
No,
into that,
I don't.
you don't
I
have
don't.
to, and I don't want you to feel pressured. I want you to feel as though you're in a safe space to share that story if you feel as though you want to share that story. If you don't, we can definitely navigate it in another part of the conversation.
No, that's so fine. I just don't want to feel like I'm shitting on someone who can't defend themselves at all. Like, despite the fact that this person was just like the world's shittest person, I will own some things here. Okay, this is where it gets gross for me, but this is exactly why I reached out to you, because this is what I've learned about my shortcomings and how I can turn them into power for myself. So let's circle all the way back to when I was back in the Whit Sundays, okay? So when I was a little kid, there was a bit of domestic violence. So this person that I dated for 4 years, pretty much Freudian, pretty much looked like my dad, sounded like my mum. I thought this person was the best I could possibly get for me, but
Fuck.
it didn't matter what I did. I was, if I ate a couple of lollies, you're gonna go for a run, you fat slut. The first thing he said to me when I met him was, "Oh, I thought you'd be smaller." Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so painting the picture, but babe, oh, he was 120 kilos, 6'7", tattoo, face tattoo, stretched ears. So I was like, hello, my next traumatic event.
Hello, my next favorite red flag.
100%. Hello, 10 years of therapy. But the whole point of bringing this person up is because this person wanted, like, bled me dry of everything and anything I could offer. He is actually the reason I went and got my job at the sugar mill. Like, even though the sugar mill ended in fire and brimstone, I threw my resume into that place 6 times. Like, twice I even snuck past reception and stuck it on the supervisor's
Oh my god,
desk.
Jess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was determined. So that was a massive expanding experience for me. Further, I guess he encapsulated so much of every part of my childhood that was just unsafe and really quite sad, that it made me, I don't know how else to say this, but it made me hate myself so much that I ended up going to the gym instead of just starving myself 5 days and saying, yes, we've done so well. Look at how skinny I am. Like, I'm going to reward myself with the Daredevil espresso and do it all again for 5 days.
Yeah. No.
So, like, the point of what I'm saying is, even though I trialed and errored all that, I got to where I am because of that experience I put myself through.
Mm.
And then I learned I never, ever, 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 ever want to feel that way again. So even though it's really sad the way we got here,
You got here
if I
for a
had to do it
reason.
again
Yeah.
to become exactly who I am now, I would.
Yeah.
I absolutely would, because I really like who I am now.
Mm.
And it's taken a lot of years to do that.
You were
But
talking
all
a
of,
little bit before about some of the shortcomings and things that you had to identify within yourself during that period of time. Do you want to sort of elaborate a little bit on that?
I guess I perceived myself so worthless that that's what I thought I was only capable of getting, and everything that was offered to me or not offered to me was to my own, like, it was my own fault.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I mean. Like,
Just that negative self-belief,
yeah,
that limiting
yeah,
self-belief.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I guess it come from that intense sadness. Like, I was able to own that and say, actually, I put myself through that because I chose that person. It's not
Yeah.
that person. I chose that person, and I chose to keep staying with that person, and I
Mm-hmm.
chose to keep letting that person breadcrumb and all these other, red flag buzzwords. I kept choosing that time and time and time again. And because I woke up one day and I realized that I kept choosing that, I then gained the ability to not choose that. When I realized it was actually a choice of mine that I was accountable for, it meant that I could turn around and choose something different. And that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
what I meant by finding the power in accountability. It's not to sit there and be like, man, poor me. Because if I hadn't realized that, I would still be making the same freaking choices, wondering,
Mm-hmm.
why is life happening to me? Why am I such a victim? No, I chose that person. And so I then chose to leave that person and then try not to choose that same person in other shells.
And try not to continue to choose those patterns of behavior that lead you to, not on a path where you want to be.
Exactly.
And if you hadn't
Exactly.
experienced those things, you never would have come to that realization.
Correct. And
Yeah.
even if I did, I wouldn't value it as much as I do now, because wouldn't have cost me as much.
Mm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
I feel like I was meant to kind of do that to be
Yeah.
able to be so grateful for where I am now.
Definitely. Well, sort of
Mm.
along the tangents of where you are right now and what you're doing right now with your life, what do you think your purpose is?
Ooh.
Like, why do you think you were You were put on this earth in exactly this body, this person, at this point in time. What do you think your purpose is, if you were to sort of describe it?
I think my purpose is to heal. I think my purpose is to stop. I don't know if you can sort of relate to this as a Greek, but my family, my mum's side of the family, I'm eldest daughter. Okay, eldest daughter.
Preach.
Um, but yeah, so you kind of know where that comes from, and all the other eldest daughters are going to know exactly where I'm about to go with this. But there's always been that eldest daughter curse, which to me is just a lack of accountability in trying to create a relationship that's meaningful with the eldest daughter, because the eldest daughter's always been kind of treated as an extension of the mother, right?
Mm,
Um, and as much as I very much love and adore all of the women in my family, because of the way they also kind of speak to me, I am trying to do this whole cycle. And I hate saying this because it sounds so buzzwordy, but this whole cycle breaker thing. So
mm.
I'm trying to reach back out to these women and say, do things that have never really been done before. So, hey, when you said X, it made me feel really Y.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are we able to have a conversation about that? And it's almost always brick wall. That's your problem. Deal with it. Move on. That never happened. The huge. And so
So you've sort
sadly,
of taken a personal responsibility to help open a dialogue of conversation and healing with older women in your family in order to heal relationships and get them to sort of see perspectives other than their own.
a little bit, but it's mostly, look, it might even be selfishly driven because I'm not the kind of person that can have a superficial relationship with anyone or anything.
Yep.
Like, we talked about how passionate I can be. I don't know how to be anything but that. So when
Same.
there is, yeah, so for me, all I want is the ability to be my most authentic self. And growing up, I wasn't able to be that. I had to be very small. I felt like certain people were really ashamed of me, so I had to kind of hide myself. Um, and all I guess I was trying to, maybe the selfish to do, was extend the opportunity to have a more authentic relationship where that person can be their authentic self, warts and beautiful parts and all, but so could I. I didn't have to dilute myself. And sadly, more often than not, with that side of the family, this has a happy ending, by the way. With that side of the family, it was just all too much for them. It was too raw. It was too real. It was just that's not the narrative I want, and I have had to accept that and kind of just, I guess, distance myself from
Yeah.
the misconception that I might be able to have that really raw relationship with them. But when I got back from the Whit Sundays, I started rekindling my relationship with my dad. So that was kind of the part of my childhood that was really sort of domestic violence related,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of addiction. Um, and instead of my dad, who is the cutest old man with his friggin' 3 Pomeranians, right now he's literally weaning another litter. It's the like he's like
Oh.
my dad, covered in shadow tattoos, been to jail plenty of times. Like he's just freaking. He's a TC. But he's not. He's a freaking golden retriever. When I came back and I broached the conversation to kind of be more close to him,
Mm.
instead of pretending it didn't happen, he said to me point blank, Ree, I don't remember that happening, but I'm so sorry. Instead of that, that didn't happen.
Defensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
We literally, this freaking tattooed, tough, angry looking old man with no bloody teeth cried with me in the middle of McDonald's over a freaking double egg McMuffins. And he apologized. And he
Wow.
saw me. And since then, we have just been healing so much. Like, and just our relationship is and this is why I feel like I am my purpose, to answer the question in like the longest breath possible.
It's okay.
um my purpose is to show people that healing is possible. If I can
Mm.
heal my, you know addict, angry, gangster,
Ooh.
jailhead, old school dad, genuinely believes Romper Stomper is made from his life. I love this man, but he's
Fuck.
I'm not kidding. So I've got, like practicing Roman Catholic on this side, dad, very confused me.
Oh my god, honey, you poor thing. Wow.
There's a lot of yin and yang. Okay, we've got all the darknesses and all the lights and all the darkness. I'm saying. But the point is, my relationship with him has just shown me that this anything is possible when it comes to believing in yourself, when it comes to healing, when it comes to having a real relationship with someone. It's actually a choice to
Mm,
be vulnerable enough to connect, and that's kind of what I'm intending on doing with people, the family that comes from me one day, with my friends, with my clients. Like, that's all I want to do. Every touch point I can possibly have, if I can show that person that, you're allowed to believe in yourself, which is hilarious because of how many times I've minimized myself just in this one podcast.
yeah.
I
You're
know.
still learning though. You're still learning, and I think that's part of the whole journey. I hate using that word, but I think that's the whole point of it, because
I
it is
agree.
continuously learning how to do that over and
Hmm.
over and over again within different aspects of our lives, within different relationships with different people.
Mm.
And it's never going to be perfect, but it's just a continued effort to keep trying to do that.
100%. Like, I just feel like life is far too short to waste it on things that aren't authentic connection, on miscommunication,
Mm,
on ego. I can't be
yep.
bothered with any of that, mate.
Yep.
Like, the thing that keeps driving me is, and whenever I'm like stuck at a fork in the road, the thing that drives me towards whatever decision I have to make is, what am I going to regret least when I'm sitting on my porch at 90 years old in my rocking chair?
Mm,
What am I going to regret the least? Is it trying time and time and time and time and time again to have a meaningful relationship with my family? Or is it
walking
just,
away.
or is it walking away? I mean, how many times are you going to touch the stove before you realize it's fucking hot? Yeah, I don't know. It's just tricky.
It is tricky. And I think
Yeah.
that's, even as well, I've had this conversation with a few of my guests, but purpose as an essence in itself is always changing. Like your purpose right now is probably like, I think for you, your example and the way you've described it for yourself is going to be lifelong. But a lot of people sort of change their purpose as their life evolves, as their life changes. I think at the core of my purpose, it's always
Mhm.
been to educate and help people in any capacity possible. Like I love being a voice for people. I love helping people and I love educating people. That is at the core of who I am and my purpose as a human being.
I really love that.
Yeah.
I definitely identify that with that as a personal trainer as well. Like,
Mm,
I really do.
mm,
And even with what I do at work, like with the supplements that we sell, it's like every person that comes through is an opportunity to make their life better.
mm.
Like, you ask them lots and lots of questions about what their entire lifestyle is like. You give them one or two products with the hope that, they're gonna sleep better, and that's like the one thing that they actually really need. It's not extra fucking caffeine the next day. It's actually a
Exactly.
bit of sleep.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I love that too about my jobs. Because I feel like we're meant to connect and teach each other, and we're meant to learn from each other, whether it's, with what we do with work or life experiences.
Definitely. Oh, I love that. Okay, well, sort of to wrap up our episode, I
Mm,
know it's gone so fast already. I can't believe it. I've been
isn't
like
it?
checking the time. I'm like, oh, fuck. I still have more I want to talk about, but I can't make it too long. Sort of tying back to a little bit from your childhood and from that time,
Mm.
I know that we didn't really get much into it in detail, but if there was one piece of advice that you could give 8-year-old you, what would that be?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I wasn't expecting this, but I wasn't expecting it to hit this hard. I would tell her that everything she's going through is for a reason. It's not fair,
Yeah.
but what you're going to do with it is going to change everything about what you expect about life. You are going to get everything and more than you think you need. So everything that is happening now is actually, as cliche as it sounds, is happening for a reason.
Yeah.
You are going to be phenomenal in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
That's
Oh,
me trying
honey.
not.
Good. Good. I'm so proud of you. And I think 8-year-old
Thank you.
you, 8-year-old you, if she could see you right now, she would think you are the coolest bitch ever.
I hope so.
She would think you are the coolest, most amazing, smart, inspiring, powerful, and strong woman ever. And you are who you needed back then. And I
I think
think
that's
that,
been the goal.
yeah, and I think that is a testament to who you are as a person and how strong you are and what you were able to overcome.
Thank you, honey.
You're so welcome.
Thank you. Oh,
And,
God.
everything that's led us to having this conversation right now, if you hadn't slid into True North's DMs, if Waz hadn't reached out to me and begged me to collaborate, he was like, "Can I send you some stuff?" He's like,
Yeah.
I've got some singlets and some loungewear and some undies." And I was like, "Fuck yeah." Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
He's
He's
just the
not anything.
sweetest.
He's not anything you'd expect. Like, he's almost like, oh, only if you're comfortable. He's like, oh, he's just adorable.
He's
I
just
love him to pieces.
And I love everything that he brings out with the brand and how
Yeah.
it is so inclusive and but also still really true to the core of like the hard rock heavy sort of alternative girl
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
And it's just so on brand with True North. Like it's us.
100%. And you know what else I love about it? It's comfy.
Yes, everything is
Oh,
comfy as.
everything is like these shirts, they are so stretchy and I genuinely live in it. And that's
Yeah.
just one piece. Like they're all such incredibly high value. They're so comfy. They're so, oh,
Absolutely. And
so
drop
grateful.
4 is, I'm so excited for drop 4. There are so many really, really, really good pieces of clothing in this
Oh
new
god,
drop.
yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah, just a
I'm
little
just so
plug right there on the end for True North.
thanks, was.
All right, my love. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in for our episode. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button and leave a little comment down below if there's anyone else that you'd like me to interview. And Ri, again, honey, thank you so much for sharing your story today. It honestly means the world to me. You are incredible. You are inspiring and amazing. And please continue doing what you're doing because I love you.
I love you too, babe. And I'm so grateful that I shot my shot with you too. And I was just audacious that morning as well.
Good. Always. Everyone needs to be more audacious.
100%
Just
get on a
do
t-shirt.
it. Yeah. All right,
thank you, my
guys.
love.
Thank you, honey. And please tune in for our next episode, guys. Thank you. Bye.